Interesting. I think my starting soon little app has a bug. Welcome back, everyone. I apologize for my absence. I had the conflict 2 weeks ago and then just got sick over the holiday. For those of you not in the United States, Thanksgiving was last Thursday. I had planned on streaming but got sick and just could not do it. So I do apologize for missing that. But we are back again this week and ready to go again. Despite being sick, I did a bunch of work on the material design library, and I think it is very close to having the 3.0 release go out the door. So what that ultimately is going to mean, I had hoped to release it alongside of MaApps 2.0, but I think what will happen is we will release the core library and the material design colors library, and get those out the door, and then just wait for the MaApps 2.0 release. And once that gets out of preview, then we'll release the material design MaApps integration package out of preview release as well. I think that's probably the simplest way to move forward. So my plan for tonight is to go through. There's a couple small issues with the 3.0 stuff that I'm aware of. There's a lot of documentation problems, and then I don't know. We're gonna have some fun. So that is at least where I'm planning on going with this and seeing about it. Before I get too carried away, I did want to let me switch here. That button. I am on a brand new computer this week, and so that is not quite right. Sorry, I'm noticing my screen is getting cut off. So bring you in a little bit. And is it Shift? Nope. Control. Where's the crop button? Alt. Ha 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 ha. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. There. And relock. Sorry. So I am on a... I finally did get my new computer in place. And so I am very excited to actually be streaming on it right now. So there we go. Maybe something like that. So sorry about that. Trying to get all of my streaming software and everything set up. I thought I had everything ready to go, and about an hour ago I realized, nope. I had downloaded everything and just never got around to actually installing and configuring it. So there was a mad rush to get everything done. Anyway, so flipping back, there is a website called Advent of Code. And so this wonderful individual goes through and publishes coding problems every year. You can go back, I want to say through calendar year. Oh, I can't remember how to use this. Does it let me type? 20, no? There's a way to go back, I believe, all the way through like 2015, if I'm not mistaken. Ha ha ha, there we are. And you can go through, and they publish out 25 programming problems. Most of them aren't horribly complex. They are language agnostic, so you can do them in whatever makes you happy. But basically, you just work through this. They do require you to sign in, and then you'll get a text box here where you can type in the answer to the problem, and then get your yes or no and move on to the next one. So if people are looking for fun programming problems to just kind of work through and test your skills, I'm contemplating going through. I don't know if I'd live stream them or just maybe post some YouTube links later for anybody not following. Let's see. I can type. I may go through and just see about solving some of these, posting it out on a GitHub repo somewhere, and just post videos of my solutions. It's all about coming up with the right answer, and so elegant isn't necessarily always great. It's just whatever gets you to the answer quickest. So just something to keep in mind. I've known about it for the last several years. Unfortunately, it always hits because it hits at Advent, so right around at least American Christmas, and Thanksgiving time is always a very busy, hectic time of the year for me. And so it's one of those, I'd love to do them every day when they came out, but I suspect that's going to probably have to wait. But maybe after the first of the year, I might work through each of these. So if that's something that you would find interesting, leave me a comment below and let me know. And I think it might be a fun thing to just kind of work through, just to keep skills sharp and find interesting ways to come up with answers to problems. So maybe if I get bored, I might take a crack at this. But back to material design. Okay, so on the release, and I'm going to go through and do this. So this is not public right now. Right now, this is just this is the preview. It's a draft, so it's not visible to everybody. Issue 1301 is now closed. This is what I believe to be a list of all of the significant breaking changes in the 3.0 release. So this is all of the stuff that you may want to be aware of if you plan on updating to the 3.0 release right away. Okay, a highlight of all of the important issues, or at least some of the important issues. A quick list of at least the known pack icon changes. Most of these are breaking changes, so if you happen to be using some of these other ones, just be aware that these are effectively breaking changes on the enum value. And then if anybody wants to see the full list, you can always check out the closed items in the milestone. I will warn you, there are 102 items. This release has gone on way too long. My intent is to try and cut these down, and ideally get releases out every few weeks or every month, with smaller incremental stuff. So as you can see, going through, everyone who opened an issue or opened a pull request, I do try to acknowledge that there, because this is not a project I could do 102 items on by myself. So a huge thank you. If your name is on this list, thank you, thank you, thank you. This could not happen without people filing good bug reports, and then more importantly, people fixing them, adding features, all of that. So I'm probably going to keep I'm probably going to be a little hesitant to merge more stuff in, but there's the current list as it sits. Okay, so moving on. So there was one change I made last week, and down here, so I had done a pull request, and I'll usually just merge my pull request in once things happen. But this person here came in and was kind enough to actually go through and give me a code review on my pull request. So if you see a pull request and you have comments, whether it's open or closed, I really do appreciate it. I absolutely love code reviews. I love giving them, and I love getting them, because ultimately this is how code gets better. And so this guy went through and did a code review of all of the changes that I had done. So this change here was to fix the numeric up-down control. The template that MaApps had significantly changed, so I updated it to bring us up to being more in alignment with their 2.0 release, and then making the appropriate material design theme changes. And then there was a couple comments in here, and I wanted to go through and address them, because I think these are actually good comments. So we are going to start here and deal with these guys. So the first comment was around this border thickness. So this shouldn't be removed because it breaks the control style relative to the text box. It should be border thickness 001, and on focus it should be 002. So again, beautiful comment. So let's go through and take a look at this. So I'm going to take this window and just put it over on my other monitor where I can keep track of it. Okay, and so let's go and find our way into this. So this is on the new control template for the numeric up-down control. So underneath the MaApps project, numeric up-down. So let's see, MaApps, themes, numeric up-down. Great. And then, let's see here, where are we at? About line 13-ish. So line 13, I had dropped what used to be set border thickness, which this was probably dropped due to the fact that I mostly copied in the ma-apps template and then started making modifications to it. Okay, so this is a change here. So it's not completely dropped. So he suggests that it should be 001 rather than 111. So let's see. And so some people like the spaces. I like the commas. The owner of the library, James Willock, actually posted a Twitter poll a while back asking people whether they preferred commas or spaces. He apparently prefers the spaces. But apparently, at least among his followers, the commas were the more popular. So, yay. I agree with the popularity, kids. So, let's see. And then the comma is on focus, it should be 020. So this is just around here. Border thickness, and then on focus. So this is gonna, okay, so let's fire, let's see, this guy here, set his startup project. Let's fire this guy up and take a look. And unfortunately, being sick meant I have not replenished my Mountain Dew supply, so I'm doing this sans Mountain Dew. Unfortunately. Okay, so ma-apps, numeric up, down. I think that's the difference. This ends up with just this line here, and I'm wondering if this is actually correct. I'm wondering if this should have an underline. Okay, so before, if we just had it as 1 all the way around. Let's see, that didn't seem to add. Is there a border brush? Text box border. Okay, so let's relaunch this and try it with 1, because I'm willing to bet that that then draws a line all the way around the outside. And I'm wondering if functionally what this guy should end up doing is having the underline control. Yeah, so that goes all the way around. Okay, so the problem is less about the border brush and more with the material design stuff. Yeah, so you'll notice the text box for material design, and let me pop that again. I don't know if this thing's streaming fast enough for you to catch it. But right on the bottom of the text box, there's this underline control, and it gets thicker when you get focus. When you move out of it, you'll notice it goes down, and you can kind of see that animation in and out, where there's sort of a secondary line that gets drawn on top of it. So there is that. So I think it's less about, so one, I agree that this border is wrong. And I think that 0001 is probably more correct. I don't know if on focus I agree that it should go to 2. I think what actually should happen is this guy should have the underline effect, like the other text boxes have. Text field decorator visibility. And I think this is probably the problem. I believe the decorators turn off the underline, so we're just going to relaunch. I have to say, having a computer that can stream and compile this is muchos better. Muchos better. Okay, so let's take a look here and see. Let's see, numeric up, down. Okay, so now, so that's sort of the fundamental problem right there, right? Because if we turn the decoration visibility on here, the text box portion of the control only extends where it's typable, and I would expect it to actually extend the length of the control. Okay, so collapsed. So let's turn that off, but I think what I almost want to do is go through and add an underline control instead, because I'd rather than having this border be in control of it, I'd really like to get that nice underline animation effect. So let's take a look at what that's going to take. because I think I should be able to just steal that same style from the text box and bring it over to this. Because again, I really, what I'm looking for is this nice look here. So 2 pixels wide, and then it goes down to the 1 pixel and kind of grays out when you don't have focus. You get that nice primary purple color on focus, and then the nice animation thickness as focus actually moves into it. That's what we're going for. That's what I think I want. So let's go and look at the text box template and see how this is doing it. Okay, so there's that. Let's see. Border, I'm looking for, there's usually, I believe, an underline control buried in here somewhere. Underline. Okay, so how are you effectively working? So underline, corner radius, background. So you've got a name on you, which makes me suspect that there is a trigger pointed at this guy somewhere. Let's see, has outline text field. So there's at least one trigger pointed at him to collapse him. And then is keyboard focused? Toggles is active true, which I'm guessing is what gives us this. Okay, perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. That's basically what we want. So I think what we do is we grab this guy. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to go back up to here. Okay, so I'm almost tempted to drop the border stuff altogether. No, I think I'm going to leave the border. If somebody wants to turn it on, I'll let them turn it on. It won't look as nice in my opinion. So we'll start it in the appropriate part. But I think we're going to turn it off. And instead, let's see. Here is the grid. Part, middle, column, all of this jazz. I think what I want to do is put a second row in this grid and put the underline across all of it. I think that's what I want. I could also put it outside of this. All of these things are effectively all lined up here. But I don't think, I'm just sort of looking at what all is in here. This guy here, disabled visual element. That guy, no, I think we just do a second row. I think that's how we end up doing this. So let's see, row definitions. First row definition will basically just match what we have now, which is a single row definition with a height of 1 star. Then I think we throw a second one in here with a height of auto, because I want this to scale up and down based upon whether this guy is set or not. So this guy here, and we will go through and set the grid row on all of these guys. So grid row 1. Resharper complains if you don't set grid row and column on all non-first element things, which makes sense. It doesn't like you to just infer the default of 0. So we'll make Resharper happy right now, even though those are the defaults. Okay, so then let's do, nope, I want, actually, do I have the, I do, ha ha ha, yay. So Windows key V will give you a global circular clipboard. So you can either use the one that's built into, sorry, I got to look at this real quick. I want the material design one. You can either use the one built into tools like Resharper, or you can go through and just turn the Windows one on. Okay, so I'm going to move some of this stuff down. Okay, there is a lot of stuff in here. I think I'm going to rename this just, I tend to like shorter namespace declarations, as long as they remain clear. I mean, there's always a bit of a question about, is it still readable or is it not? And let's just do one property per line. This is already going to be long enough because all of these guys are going to have fun attached stuff. Okay, so underline corner radius, underline brush. We'll leave all of these, so if somebody sets those attached properties, we might go and check their defaults, but they're probably reasonable. Right? So we got a name, underline, there's all of that. Okay, and then we want that same trigger. So I don't care as much about this one, but I do care a lot about this one. So we're going to bring this guy in here. Do I already have is enabled, is read only? Let's see, is pressed, is mouse over, is pressed. Text box is focused. I think this might actually be, that's actually probably, I think we still want is keyboard focused because there is a difference in WPF between keyboard focused and is focused, because it's possible for an element to be focused without having keyboard focus, I believe. So target name, underline. Yeah, let's give that a shot. I think this will give us a little bit more consistent look. What are you? Oh, hold that thought. We did not tell it. Let's see, grid row 1, and we'll put these in the same order as the ones above. Column 0, and then let's see, grid column span 3. Right, because I want that to cover all of them. Okay, let's try this one more time. What are you unhappy? Typo markup value attribute. There is no typo. Okay, so numeric up down. Ooh. So that's interesting, and more importantly, I don't see my underline control. Okay. So that's kind of interesting. So everybody's favorite tool, Snoop, for those people who haven't used it. To do this is, I believe I'm running as .NET Core at the moment. So this is the preview version of Snoop that's out. You can tell by the addition of this extra button. The other new setting in Snoop that I've been absolutely loving is set owner window false. Previous versions of Snoop, the snooped window would always set this as set this guy as his parent, so he always sat on top. And now you can do this, which I love. So that is one of my favorites. So Bastian Smith is the one of the main guys writing that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so let's figure out what's going on. So you, with Snoop, once you've targeted the window and this guy comes open, you put your cursor over the element you're interested in snooping and press Control-Shift. Best keystroke in the world, absolute lifesaver. Okay, so we can see that it dove us all the way in. So here's our numeric up-down control. Here's the text box in question. So let's collapse this guy here, because this is the grid where our underline control lives. So there's our underline. And the question is, what the heck happened? So first of all, is active true here? Let's see, is active. And I click. So that didn't do anything. If I turn it on, it's like it's floating behind something. Numeric up down. Numeric text box. I'm a little interested in why these two buttons didn't line up equally, right? It's like these things have opposite vertical alignment. So stretch center. Stretch center. Why are these things in different positions? I'm a little confused about that. Let's see, content presenter. So the grid's down there. The grid. Like I'm a little confused. Did I put one of these guys in the wrong row? Did I just? Yep. Yep, I did. That'll do it. Grid row 0, grid row 0, grid row 0. Okay, so that should solve the mystery of. Okay, now my buttons are lined up straight. Okay, so that solves mystery 1. Mystery 2, what happened to my underline? Right? So let's check here. Visibility is visible. It should be there. Okay, so then the question, I guess, comes, how does this get drawn? Is it the background brush? Because if it's the background brush, that explains it. We're just lacking in that. So let's go and look at, I think it's in generic. Let's see, that's the ripple control. There's the underline. Primary hue mid brush. Okay, so that guy should be getting set there. Template binding background. So, and not a lot of triggers. So this does a scale, scale, scale. Scaling, scaling, scaling. Great, great, great. So nothing fancy here. And primary hue mid brush. Why is that not being applied? So let's go back here and see what all we set on here. Visibility, corner radius. Oh, this guy's being set. And I bet you this underline brush has a default of like empty or something. So let's see. What is the default value? Default value is null. No? Where? Wait. Name, underline brush, owner type, new property metadata. Where's the default here? Why did I made a bad assumption. I assumed that it's interesting that this isn't falling into here, but regardless, that would leave a there, that's better. Fall into the appropriate one. Let's be explicit. I didn't realize if you set null there, it would fall out. So the problem being is this guy's going to default to null, which is pretty much the exact behavior that we see. So underline brush must have a default set somewhere up here, kind of like this, which it does. So let's go and grab this guy. Let's see, those are the MAApps ones. Let's go down here, I guess. Put it right there. And go ahead and update that. Okay, let's try this again. So the other thing is it didn't look like we might have to move that setter up to trigger on this guy. So let's go up here, numeric up, down. Still no, snoop it again. Still no brush that I see. So snoop, focus on there. Let's back up. So there's the text box. So we'll go up to here. There's our underline. Background is set. So why do you not show up? Because you're clearly got the right value now. Okay. You have a height of 2, which seems fine. Corner radius is 0. Great. Visibility is visible, which makes a lot of sense. Let's see, actual width is, so it's sized correctly. Doesn't appear to have a problem. How about is visible is set. Background has a value. I don't know why I don't see it. Let's do is active real quick. So it's not toggling that appropriately. Oh, so the underline. Interesting. So how? Okay. So that's half our problem. So this needs to be. Let's see. Source name. We're just going to drop this guy on here instead, right? So we're going to make this guy trigger when keyboard focus is inside of our text box. I think this is right. Template parent border brush, focus border brush. Let's try this again. I'll have to look at what that's defaulting to, because this is setting a border brush there. Oh, and I kind of want to fix these. The XAML's case insensitive by default. However, my OCD nature means that I like all of my booleans to match. I don't really care if people pick upper or lowercase. I just really, really don't like mixed. Okay, so let's give this a shot. Let's see, numeric up, down. So now the only question is, should it trigger when that has focus and not just on this? Okay, so let's turn this off here, because I'd really, let's take a quick look, because I think, I'm curious what happens on, so you sit over here for a moment. So let's target this one, right? And I want to go up to here, to the actual this guy, and I want to look at its focus properties. Right, so I want focus down here. But when I do this, is keyboard focus within? Interesting. Doing that seemed to have. Source is keyboard focus within. I think that's what we want to do it on. Is keyboard focused within? And I think it's probably the edit and continue. There. Because when I click on here, if my keyboard focus is on these buttons, I think I want the same underline effect. Okay, so let's look real quick at how this text box does its border. And it's doing, okay, so it is actually setting a border thickness of 1 with a border brush. Okay, and I think this is probably more akin to what we want, because the numeric up-down control is really expected to behave. Let's see here. Let's just do this. And I think I'm going to just restart because I don't trust it. At some point, I want to go through and implement the XAML styler, and then there will be a big bang change where all of the XAML gets forced into conformity. Because again, I don't have huge, strong opinions about the formatting of this type of stuff, of spaces versus commas, but I do really like it all to be consistent. Okay, so do I not have zoom it? There we go. Okay, so I'm very interested in That border brush is still showing as black. Is that true on the dialog? So let's click off. Oh, mouse over changes the border brush. Because the text box border is black. Oh, so there's something that changes it on mouse over. Okay. So let's go hunting this guy. So we're just gonna, it's got to be a trigger down here somewhere. Look at this. Is mouse over? Let's see. Mouse over border brush. Control helper mouse over border brush. So we need to change the default of that. Control mouse over border brush. Let's see here. So this guy here, I think this guy should be defaulting to the primary mid color to make it line up consistently. So let's go take a look at where those get set. I think it's in here. Yeah. So let's see. Numeric up down. What we're looking for: brushes, text box, mouse over border. So mouse over border. That's defaulting to a gray. I don't think that's correct. Nor do I think the focus border is probably correct. I think we actually want to go through and pick out the primary mid. So I think let's do this. So let's go down here. So at least for this one, I'm fairly confident that what we want is not this. We want this. Let's see. Set brush should take a color. Great. And if people have an opportunity to go through and try out these preview builds, these types of things, especially with MAApps 2.0 being still in preview, I'm very okay with changing it. Yeah, so now you get that purple color on click and the full line. Yeah, so I don't know if you can really see it. Let's do magnifiers. The only problem with zoom it is it yeah, so it switches to the primary color. On mouse over, which I believe is what we want. Let's see, where'd my magnifier window go? Close. Thank you. Let's just try that again because I noticed that it looked like it was weird on the first launch. No, that is correct. And again, all of these things are just defaults on the styles. So if you don't like them, you are free to override them as much as you would like. Yeah, I think that's probably better because part of me likes to leave these types of brushes in place, which makes me realize that I changed the background brush, and I kind of want to check that one now. Let's see. So numeric up down. Why did the zoom on this not necessarily zoom this up? Okay, so MAApps text box border. Material design text box border. So I think we want to change these. So I think I want to go back to the MAApps one and instead do the other one. So MAApps brushes text box border. So there's that. And then let's check what we have over here. Text box border. I'm going to just I know this matches the order that they were in their code, but I'm going to reorder this. So that makes me feel better. Okay, so this guy here was going to need to be the same as the material design text box border. So let's go and look at what that is set up as. No. Let's see. Colors, color manipulation. Let's see. It is called Material Design Assist. Where is it? Huh? Let's see. It's probably telling when I can't even remember where my own code is. Let's see. Those are the... it must be down in the main library. A little surprised about that. I am somewhat wondering about the value of having these separated out versus combined in NuGet packages, because this doesn't seem to provide... they tend to have to go hand in hand, and we don't really release one of these out of band of the other. So at some point in time, I may contemplate obsoleting colors and just moving everything into the main library. I would be curious if you're using just the colors library without the material design themes. Let me know, because I don't have to do it, but it is extra maintenance overhead to have these two NuGet packages. Okay, must be theme assist. There we go. Blah 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 blah. Let's see. Change theme. Change theme here. Get light. Get. Where is the? This is not the. That's not what I'm looking for. Where is the? Apply. Theme, apps. Sure, let's set theme as the magic. Okay, that was a lot of hunting for that. It's probably an indication that I need to rename things or reorganize, because that took me way too long to find my own code. Okay, so text box border, material design. Wait, what? Text box border. So, oh, there's literally a, oh, okay. So let's change up the apps one. Rather than using their gray, we're just going to go straight up theme, text box border. Let's check. Is there a, yeah. Okay, so we're going to try that. And give that a shot, because I think this will bring it a little bit more in line. Okay, so maps, numeric. There. That looks nicer. There. I think that's better. That, I think, is better. Okay, so that was the first comment. It's a very long fix for that comment. Okay, so that guy there is in and fixed. Okay, and then the last comment had to do with the, did I already pass it? I think it's at the bottom. The alignment. So I was defaulting the text alignment to the right. Okay, and the question I have a little bit is, what was the previous text alignment? So the reason the text alignment here is set up this way is because that is what it is inside of apps. So let's do this real quick. So apps GitHub. And I want to double check, because if this matches theirs, I'm inclined to say that right is the appropriate default. Because I do want this theme to more or less be a drop-in replacement for people using apps. And changing the default on something like that is, yeah, So I think what we're going to do is we'll just leave a comment on this guy, because I believe right is correct because it matches the MAAPS one. Let's see, this matches the MAAPS default. So we'll just hyperlink that guy in. So I think it should stay as right to avoid breaking. Okay, so add single comment there, and we'll leave a response once we push this other change up. Okay, so let's see here. So new branch, create branch, fix numeric up down underline, boom, and I think we want all the changes. So some brush changes, some border thickness changes, default there, material design themes, that's just there, setting up the grid row, adding the underline control, fixing the capitalization of true, and then is keyboard focus within, we activate the underline. Okay, looks great. This here, does it really matter? This isn't really related, so let's throw it away, and it's not going to change any behavior by leaving it the way it was. Okay, so fixing the underline behavior of the numeric up down. Okay, so commit changes, push, and let's go up here, grab a new tab, boom, boom, pull request. Let's see, I'm going to label this with MAAPS. This is going to go as part of the 3.0 stuff. Great. I am contemplating breaking apart these milestones and versioning the MAAPS stuff differently. I don't know how often we're going to have these sort of disjoints between them, and normally all the libraries go together. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see here. Oh, not what I wanted. I want to copy this link, come back over here. Thank you for catching this. I believe I have fixed it here. Boom. Add single comment, and there's that guy. And then we'll let this build chug for a minute, and we will come back to it and kick it off. Okay. So the last thing I wanted to double check is there's a, well, here, I'll just demo it. Picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So here's this library, here's this library. Let's not do that. So let's go through and blah, 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 close that, close that. Why are my view desktop icons off? Okay, so let's do new project here real quick. So create new project, WPF app, and we're going to use .NET Core. WPF app 1 sounds great. So the problem I noticed earlier today, and I've seen it happen before, and I didn't spend a lot of time looking into it, and it may not actually be a bug. But the problem I noticed, is when I bring in the preview package for material design, right? So preview package, let's jump over here, material design themes, right? So when I install this package, it's got a dependency on the colors library, right? And this looks correct, but I'm wondering if it's not completely there. So what ends up happening is we come in here, and so with the new CS Proj format, and this is one of the reasons why, if people go back and look at one of my old videos where we covered the difference between Packet versus NuGet, this is one of the areas where Packet would claim to handle this for you a little bit better. is there's now what's called a transitive, yeah, I can't pronounce it, dependency between this and the material design colors NuGet package, right? And so what it ends up doing is picking the version that meets the dependency spec. So here you'll note that this guy, let's see, oh, interesting. So if we do here, you'll note this spec here says that it needs to be at least version 1.2.0, but less than version 2.0.0, right? And so what ends up happening though is when we add this in and compile, that seemed to work. Wait, what? Okay, now I'm confused. Before I was getting an error, so let's walk through this real quick. So simplest option with this library is jump down to the Getting Started guide. I plan to reorder this because this has version 2.0 stuff first. I'm going to put the 3.0 stuff first and move all the version 2.0 stuff down. So we'll just grab the resource dictionary. I believe this is what broke it for me before. So in our app.xaml, we bring in the resource dictionaries. Great. We include the libraries. Everyone's happy. And we launch. There we go. Unknown build error. Could not find assembly material design colors version 1.0.1. Yeah, and this is what's bothering me, is this is a compile time error, right? This isn't even a runtime error, which bothers me, and I want to understand what's going on here. I don't know if this is just, so MC, what is, like, the MC error code on this is weird to me, because I believe that's a XAML compile failure, right? That is not even in the least bit helpful. So let's jump over here. MC 1000. Let's see. XAML compile MC 1000. Because I am not entirely sure what is triggering this. We might end up having to debug just a little bit. XAML files not. Uh-oh. This does not instill confidence. XAML files are treated as unknown when they should be treated as page. Okay, if this was true, milestone 16.1. Core compile doesn't exist. Okay, I don't. Okay, so this doesn't actually have the same error code in here. I'm going to guess that this is not, this is triggering on XAML compile and not on. Okay, so I'm more interested in figuring out what's going on here. So, let's see. Tools, extensions, manage extensions. We might need to start closing some stuff down. Close, close. Let's see, online, do I have it installed already? I've got a great extension that I like. Doesn't look like it, new machine, so don't have it yet. Excuse me. That will do the, it'll show me the MS build output, but it'll do the binary build. Because MS Build has a binary logger. Build version, build only startup project. Oh, come on. Come on. What is this called? Very, very happy when I found it. me see. I think I've actually got a list of them somewhere hidden from me that are clearly not making sense. So let's look over here. Search. Let's see. Build. Let's see. Not that. Where are you? Where are you? Come on. Okay, so this guy here, project system tools. I believe this is the one. It creates a set of tools to make working in Visual Studio project system easier. Build logging, design time builds in the project system. Yes, this is the magical extension. So project system tools. That was easy to find. Okay, so you, come here. Install, great, close, close. And then we'll let the VisX do its thing. Go, 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 go. Install, install, install. You can do it. Come on. Come on. Well, it's taking you so long. Great. Okay, so let's go back to our... How is that not in my recently used list? Okay. I will go grab it then real quick. The long way. Poof. Okay, so now we should have a, where did it say? Adds a new build logger. Clean. Build logging, that's what I want. We hit the start button. And it's going to start tracking it, and then we're going to hit build. And it's going to track for us, which is wonderful, because now we can start seeing some more output. Poof. So fails again, great, that's what we wanted to see. Type build, targets build. Now let's go take a look at exactly where this failure is occurring. So target multi. This guy here. Let's see, open logs external. Oh, and I don't even have that tool. Okay, so next tool we need. Let's see, what is it? MS build binary logger, I think. Log viewer. MS build log viewer. Ooh, Choco install. Wonderful. That's exactly what I want. For those people who don't know about Chocolatey, it is an absolutely wonderful tool for installing all of it. Think of it like, I guess, Chef. For those of you who might... timeout or your... you got to read the menu. There we go. Yes to all. Go ahead. Go ahead and install. Okay. So, I believe now we have something like MS build structured log viewer, right? So the question now is where I want to grab I want to grab where you are located. So properties, because I know you're going to be buried in here. That guy. So then open path. I know this is a long, complicated process. Trust me, it'll be worth it. Okay, so we want this whole path into this guy. Right, so now we come back over here. Open logs external. There we go. Okay, and now we can start seeing exactly what's happening. Cannot find assembly. So target markup compile pass. So this guy here, and that was just a double click operation to get this to open. So this actually helps you dive into the MS Build targets files that are generated by all of Visual Studio when you go through and when you're using the WPF project system. And so this guy is just falling over. Interesting. So this is less. Where would it get the version? Where would it get the version? I wonder if the problem is nothing is actually referencing this inside. Right? Because okay, where are we in this history tree? Target prepare resources, core build, prepare for build, resolve references, right? Resolve all project references, resolve assembly references. This guy is expected to do this. Where are the properties? So, markup compile, blah 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 blah. Where are? I want to know what the outputs of this are. I guess I can just read it. Let's see. So here's the target. Here it generates property group, item group. Where's the closing of this target? Down here, resolve all assemblies, outputs. I want to see this. Solved files. Let's look here. There we are. I think this is what I'm after. So think resolved files. Let's get down to R. Let's say take a look. LMNOPQR. Resolved files. Nope. Nope. Okay, one of you guys has this information, and I want to know where it came from. But regardless, this guy is now failing. I'm a little shocked at this. Okay, so here's what we're going to try. We're going to then, let's go about this a slightly different way. So if we go in and look at the NuGet packages that are required for this. Let's see, so material design themes, this guy here. This guy has a not latest stable. Show me the preview. So the 3.0 stuff has a minimum version of 1.2.0, right, for material design colors. So what happens if I put in material design colors and I install version 1.2.0, which is apparently a ways back, right? Because I think this is the same thing. And I'm wondering if this guy is just failing to resolve. Oh, and this guy won't resolve nicely. That is probably the issue. So I think this guy is probably falling over, saying that 1.2.0 doesn't actually support .NET Core. Oh. So we have an issue where the new spec needs to be updated. Okay. This is why I wanted to check it. I wasn't sure exactly what was going on. But I think it is safe to say that we need to update the minimum version to be 1.2.1. And I think it will be as simple as that. So material design themes. Let's see. 1, 2. I think the 0 just needs to become a 1. So the simple workaround for this is to just go through and explicitly reference material design colors and grab the latest preview, and you'll be fine. Which is what I've done most of the time. But you shouldn't have to. Like the transitive dependencies, assuming they're set up correctly, should just work. Okay, so let's back up. Okay, too much stuff open. Close all documents. Great. Okay, so all we have is that. Let's switch back to master. We'll do this as a separate branch. Let's see, create branch, fix minor version. I want to check one more thing that now that I'm thinking about it is we might need to check this guy because I think he has the same bug. Yep. So he's going to need that. This guy. This guy is completely wrong. So this guy's going to need a minimum version of 3.0 to work, right? And I think we'll just say up to exclusively less than 4.0, because I'm wondering if that's too generous. Nah, we'll let it go. And it's going to explicitly need a lower bound on material or on the MAApps Metro 2.0.0. And we'll go upper bound of 3.0, right? So you need a 2.0 build. We'll do all of them. You need a 2.0 build of MAApps. You need the 3.0 stuff of material design, and at least 1.2.1 because this guy's packaging everything together. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. So the nightly build that's going to run will have all of these NuGet changes in there. So, great. That'll do it. So stage, let's see, fixing NuGet minor versions. Cool. Cool. Okay, and I think that, at least code-wise, covers everything that I wanted to get in for the material design stuff. So, build passed, excellent, squash merge, and away we go. So there's that. That guy's done. So we'll go and open up a new pull request here. Let's see here. So this is also in the 3.0 stuff, so it's going to come in here. I don't know. Technically, it affects that guy, so we're going to put it in. I don't know. One could call it a bug. It's hard to justify it being a bug. So minimum versions are all revved on each of these packages. The material design themes base package has no dependencies. That's sort of one of the principles when I took over the library that I was told is we try to keep the base library dependency free so that it's easy to include. You don't have to bring in anything more than what we have. I feel weird just having that tagged like that. Yuck. I don't have a good label for it. Oh well. Let's see. Create pull request. And we'll have this guy chug. Cool. As always, if people have open questions, I'm happy to deviate. I don't know if I have this was at least the stuff that I had planned of covering tonight. And so if there are questions on anything related or unrelated, I am happy to deviate accordingly. So I'm going to let that guy chug for a moment. Let me check and see. You come over here. Come sit on this side for me, would you? Thanks. Thanks. That does not matter for now. We'll let this guy run, and then I think this is hopefully going to be one of the last pull requests that goes in. Let me check, because I think there is not an update to the icons package. So there is a DevOps build that runs every night that goes out and checks for updates to the material design icons, and then automatically opens up a pull request for me if there are changes, which is awesome. It used to be a huge pain to try and keep that up to date, and now I don't think about it. I just wait for my little bot to go and give me pull requests, and I merge them. Let's see. So this guy needs to be. Some of these things need to be addressed and fixed, but I'm a little less. I don't think any of these guys are going to make it in for the 3.0 release, because this is dragged on way too long as it is. So let's go through there. Let that guy chug for a moment. Oh, hey Megan, are you there? I saw your name pop up in my list of people watching, but I can never tell how up to date that actually that window actually is. I've seen it lag behind by ridiculously long amounts. So Metal Slug. So when will 3.0 be released? Very soon. My hope is potentially as early as this weekend. I'm wanting to go through and get some documentation stuff done and make sure that there's no bugs like this NuGet package thing that we just came across. So I've gotten very little feedback from people on the preview NuGet packages, so it's hard to tell if people are actually trying them out. But if people are running on the preview packages, I love feedback, even if it's just as simple as, yep, works on my app, everything seems fine, good to go. So hopefully very, very soon. And after this release, my intent is to cut down the release cycle from like 2 months or whatever this last one was, down to hopefully every few weeks have an actual release go out the door rather than just preview releases every night. So that's the short version. So hopefully soon, but that also I've got some testing that I want to run through on it, and if anything comes up, it could get delayed. So, hey Megan, I did see your question on the other chat room. So, if you don't mind, Megan, I'm happy to. Cool, yeah. Let me know if you run into any bugs on those, and I'm happy to take a look. Megan, if you want, I am happy to do your question right now if you want. If you don't mind me actually doing it on a stream that gets posted to YouTube, if that's acceptable. I always feel weird. I don't like posting people's questions and whatnot publicly, but I am happy to go through and take a look at it. Let's see. Cool. So I'm going to so just going to bring this guy over here. Okay, so for people who are unaware, me and a couple coworkers teach a C# class at a local university here, and so the most recent assignment was with WPF. So very much overlaps with a lot of the stuff that I like to work on. And so the assignment, and it looks like you may have been already going above and beyond, Megan, on this. So excellent work on that to begin with. Because things like these up-down arrows were definitely not part of the assignment. And I am kind of curious, which theming library is this that you've pulled in? Because it looks like you've gone through, you've got an icon on the window that I notice has changed, and clearly some level of theming on these buttons. I think this might be the material design stuff, just based on the look of this underline and kind of the rounded corners. But let's see here. Yeah, I changed some colors around. Cool. Excellent. Let's see. So the question is, and I'm going to back up a little bit. So you've got an item in the list box that you've selected, and when you select it, it pops over to this side over here. And you want it to be unfocused when it moves onto this side. Is that somewhat fair? Because I think the first thing that I will go through and point out is on list box like this inside of the material design stuff, the list box items themselves have at least 3 states that I can think of off the top of my head. There's selected, which is basically on off. There's focused, which is a true false, and those are not necessarily the same. So it sounds like what you're looking to do is have the focus color go away when the keyboard focus moves to the side. Is that a fair statement? I think probably. Because you want the focused, if I understand, yeah, so I do have the latest code in my PR if that's helpful too. Yeah, I might go look at that. I think what I'm going to do, since it's already the material design stuff, and I've got that right here, I think I'm going to start here. So, but I'm correct in the assumption that you want it to still be the selected item, but not show up as focused, or not have that background color on it. Is that accurate? Or are you wanting it to actually clear the selected item when you click on it? Because I think it makes sense, the behavior that you're describing where it goes through, I want to hide the selected item controls and clear the selected item. Hide the selected item controls. Okay, I'm gonna grab your pull request then real quick, because I think I might just need to see this. Let's see, open a repo, grab this. And let's see. It's thinking about loading the pull request. Get cracking, has to think for a moment. Okay, so I'm looking for ding, 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 ding. Oh, that one. Yeah, give me a copy of it. Great, thank you. And let's go and look at that real quick. So, grab that. Let's see. We'll pull this open. Hide the selected item controls and clear the selected item. So let's look at this. So we've got, there's the unit test stuff, main window view model. So we'll do this. So on the main window, we have a list box. It's bound to an item source, and the selected item is bound to there. Okay. So let's just fire this guy up. Fire it up and see how this goes. So the selected item control would be those up and down delete items to edit the item name. Ah. Okay, so in this case, foo, add item to list. So I have this, and there's that. And so is the intent that when you go here, you want these things to hide, because if I unselect, obviously things work. So I'm just holding down Control and clicking. But when you move here, you want the selected item to go away. Interesting. Didn't know you could unselect. Yeah, so control click in a list box selects and unselects. Now that may not be intuitive to an average user. It's actually behaves the same way inside of like Windows Explorer. Control click will select and unselect. So there is that, which is how the thing is working. But we can certainly go through and say, or let me put it this way. When this guy gets focus, we want to clear the selected item. Is that a fair way of putting it? Yeah, so what I would end up doing, so this is one of those times where I would argue that MVVM isn't always the easiest approach, and I would end up using a little bit of code behind for this. So let's go over here. I assume this guy is it. Yeah, looks like it. So what I would do here is I would just say something along the lines of, let's see, what is it? Got keyboard focus. Boom. So create a method. Text box got keyboard focus. Now inside of the code behind on your view, it is perfectly acceptable to go ahead and keep track. So I might do something like this. Private main window view model get, and then we'll just inject this guy right in the middle. Okay, so in our constructor, I'm just going to create a private property, and we'll go through and instantiate it and set it up. And the only reason is then down here in view model, I believe I saw selected item, clear it out. And I think that gets you roughly the behavior you wanted. Oh, the nullability is turned on. Interesting. You might consider making this a nullable property, because so rather than doing null exclamation point here, I would argue that this is probably more appropriate to make this guy nullable, because selected items can always become null, which is basically the default state of, say, a list box that has no items, or if somebody like me goes through and control clicks. So foo, add to list, right? I've got these things. I come back over here, and it clears it out. And I think this may sound like, I thought you said you had something in here that was already nulling it out. So that guy nulled it, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, something akin to that. So I think that's probably the way I would do it. Yeah, in the bottom. Selected item. So I see, oh, deselect list item. Ah, okay. So when you go through and do this, you clear the selected item. Yeah, and this is perfectly fine. Just as a small naming thing, usually in my view models, I try to avoid using the name of GUI elements, just because I'm trying to usually keep that separation between the GUI elements and the view model, and keep it as agnostic as possible. Because in general, your view model should not know anything about its view. It should know what the view needs, but not necessarily anything about it. Yeah, and ReSharper, this is one of these cases where ReSharper's analysis is horrible. So yeah, so I would say the easiest thing that I would do, because there are times where you want to get access to the events on your view objects, and there are a lot like Like there are a lot more events on here than what are easily bindable. And there's MVVM libraries that have built sort of weird go-between event and command type stuff. But usually I find when I want to access some of these custom events, it is okay to use the code behind. Like some people, try to avoid touching the code behind at all costs, and I don't think that's quite the right answer. I think in some cases it makes perfect sense to have the code behind go through and manipulate the view model, because effectively the view, all of these bindings up here are just the view manipulating the view model, and it's perfectly fine to register up for an event in your code behind and have it manipulate the view model. That seems fine to me. So I might go through and do something like that, if that answers the question. Trying to avoid it because I didn't know we could. So just use it sparingly when following MVVM. So I would say the guidance I would say about using the code behind is use it for view-only interaction. If that makes sense. So if you start ending up, and that's probably a bad way of phrasing it. As long as the stuff in your code behind is your view model isn't relying on it, and your view model is still just surfacing the data, I would say that it's fine. Because there's been several projects I've worked on where we have some, fancy GUI objects that need to do work. They need to manipulate other GUI objects to make the UI function appropriately. And the easiest thing to do was to just register for the events and manipulate them. And that's fine, because the code behind is here to support the view. Like, it is the C# backing of all of this stuff. Buried inside of your initialized component call is effectively the inflation of all of this XML stuff into real objects. And so it's perfectly fine to use it inside of here. I would just say, as long as your view doesn't need to know about, or as long as your view model doesn't need to know about your view, feel free to use the code behind as much as possible. So there's that. While we're on the topic, though, the other way that most people argue that you don't need this, because there are times where you're working in XAML and you don't have code behind, right? So specifically that usually comes up when you have like a resource dictionary that you've created, and you've built and you've put maybe some styles and data templates in there, and one of the elements inside of those things you want to register up on this event, but you don't really have a good code behind object. Now there's some hacky ways of getting a code behind for a resource dictionary, but and this is going to be a more advanced concept, so feel free to ignore this. I'm just going to play for a moment. The other way of going about doing this is a feature that we didn't talk about, which is called behaviors. So let's go here. Let's just jump back. Let's see. Public class. Maybe we'll call it null on got. Well, set property on keyboard focus behavior, right? And this will derive from behavior of maybe text box, right? So add. Let's see. Oh, we don't have the behaviors in here, so we need another NuGet package. So the only reason for this NuGet package, it used to be something that was a little bit easier to come by. Let's see, browse, what is it, interactivity, what, no packages found, huh? I am confused. Let's see, let me go, I can't remember the name of it, WPF behaviors.net core. This guy, open sourcing behaviors. This is what I want. Behaviors NuGet package. Let's see. Microsoft XAML behaviors WPF. That's what I want. How could I not remember that? Poof. This guy. Install. Great. Thank you. And now it finds the base class. Set property. So again, this is slightly more advanced MVVM pattern and ways people avoid the code behind. So a behavior lets you basically write a simple class that encapsulates some logic for a particular element. So in this case, it's going to encapsulate some logic that we have for a text box, right? So this behavior is going to need a couple things. So we'll start with overriding the onAttached. So when the behavior gets attached to the text box, this method gets invoked. And so when that happens, we're going to do the associated object and let's see, got keyboard focus, right? So we're going to do something there, and then the corresponding one, when the behavior gets detached, we will go through and unregister the event, just to make sure we'll clean up everything. Typically, these objects are going to get disposed together, so it doesn't usually make a big difference, but I always feel better cleaning up event handlers that I register. Okay. And then this guy's going to need to do something. And so, question is how to tell him about the view model. For this purpose, we might just say we're going to assume a particular view model type, right? So view model gets main window view model associated object dot data context. Right? So the text box, we haven't actually explicitly set the data context to anything, and we know it's going to inherit down. And maybe what we'll do is we won't blow up. We'll do some pattern matching. Is main window view model. Boom. Right? So if in the event that somebody hooks this up to a text box that's somewhere else, we won't blow up. So view model selected item gets null. So maybe we change this. Clear, let's call it, clear selected item on keyboard focus behavior. Yeah, so very long verbose name, but whatever, right? So this guy here. So now the question is, how do we hook this guy up? So back over here on our text box, I'm going to clear this guy out. And it is, let's see, activity.behaviors, I think. It's an interaction. There we go. ML behaviors interaction. That's what we're looking for. You'll notice it automatically included this namespace here. So schemas, Microsoft.com/XAML/behaviors. ReSharper was kind enough to name it with a single letter for me. I like my short variable name ones here. And then we just do our, what do we call it? Clear. There, right? So then if we fire this guy up, we should get identical behavior. So rather than registering for an event and then doing something in the code behind, the behavior gives us a class that we can encapsulate all of that logic with. So something like this, add to list. We have this guy here, click, and then it goes through and does the same behavior. So in a lot of cases, being able to go through and write a behavior is one of the key ways that people will avoid using the code behind when doing MVVM. The other option, let's just keep going. Wow, I'm on a roll. So other ways we could go through and handle it. So again, I think that just registering up and doing it in the code behind is the easiest. Okay, this is just more of showing off other ways of handling things in WPF. So public static class text box helpers, right? Let's see. Is there a attached property? Great. Let's see. We'll make this a bool, and we will call it clear on keyboard focus. Yeah, it is a lot for one line, and rarely do you need to do it. The one thing I would say is if you find that you're doing the same event registration in a lot of different areas of your app and have the same bit of logic, this is a very nice solution for encapsulating it because it makes it reusable and a little bit easier to work with. So I will say that. Extra points if you can spell focus. Let's see, focus. Okay, so attached properties. So this is basically the same thing as like what you would do when you're setting up your grid row and grid column, right? Is there are some attached properties on the grid class that let you go through and do it. And in general, attached properties don't add behavior. Now, for something like my apps, several of their attached properties do add extra behavior, and it's sort of a personal preference. Some people like using the attached properties to do extra stuff. I generally favor not necessarily doing that. I usually like them to be a little bit more pure and property-like, but just like how in a normal property getter and setter, you can put logic, in an attached property, you can effectively put logic when somebody changes it. So what you do is you end up creating an attached property callback. So this sort of pattern here you'll find in a lot of places. You'll notice I have or I guess ReSharper has a pre-built template for going through and creating attached properties. And all I had to do is inside of the property metadata, the second parameter allows me to register a callback for when this property changes. So we'll do something like if my object is a text box, then we'll do work, right? So if e.newValue, I'm going to just direct cast to bool because I know that the type of this property is a boolean, so there should be nothing else in here. Let's see, else. So let's see. Then I'll do text box. Got keyboard focus. Boom, boom. Create method. Boom, boom. And then we'll unregister if somebody sets it back to false. So when the property gets set to true, we're going to register the callback. When it gets set to false, we're going to unregister the callback. Pretty simple. And then in here, we're going to go text box on the sender because we can pretty much guarantee that that guy is going to be our text box. We'll do his data context is main window view model. Again, there are ways to make this a little more generic so you aren't tightly coupling to a view model type, but proving a point, selected item gets null, right? So basically the same logic as before. And your other comment of a lot of code to do one thing. Yes. This is pretty much an entire screen worth of code to clear a property versus a one-liner. And again, I think this is the cleanest solution here. But sometimes an attached property, again, can give you a lot of flexibility, and a lot of libraries like using attached properties like this to do stuff. So then, rather than doing the behavior, you end up doing something like local text box helper, clear on keyboard focus, true. Right? So if you had a bunch of text boxes where you wanted this behavior, you then just go and set this property to true on all of them. We'll fire it up. So add an item. And then works the exact same. So you can go through and actually end up building stuff out that way. So if that helps, those are, I guess, some of the more common ways people avoid putting stuff in code behind. But again, don't assume code behind is always bad. Use it. Just don't have your view model know anything about it. As long as your code behind stuff is doing viewy things, you're in view code, do it. If that helps. So, yeah. Lots and lots of stuff there. Or you just register up the event. Cool. Yeah, and again, I am always happy to deviate and answer questions. And unfortunately, if you guys get me talking about C# or WPF, I can prattle on for hours, which is not always a good thing. Not always a good thing. Okay, so let's jump back. Let's see, close this. My thing completed, squash merge, and away we go. Okay, go ahead and delete the branch, clean that up. Let's jump back over to here and see if did I clean up all my other stuff. Get me back on master, and I forgot to clean this branch up, so we'll clean that up there. Clean up my 2 local branches. Delete. And back into a nice simple startup. Okay. And that will go through and trigger the pipeline for tonight. So for those people who are interested, I've got sort of this complicated release pipeline. So there's a CI build that goes out to just an Azure artifact immediately on every pull request merge. So if I need to go through and test it, I'm trying to remember if this is a public or a private feed. I don't recall. Let's find out. So it's a private feed right now. I should look at making it public. But regardless, it goes out to a feed where I can test it, and then nightly it pushes out a preview package to NuGet.org, and then whenever I go and hit this approve button here, it'll actually take that release and send it all the way out to NuGet.org. So that's really the only thing that's stopping the 3.0 release from going out is me clicking the button. But I need to, like I said, go through some testing on it to make sure that it's actually ready to go. I hate to actually ship it and have it fall apart. So what you'll see, this guy's now chugging away on a build, and then once that build completes, it'll push another preview package out and it'll be good to go. Okay, with that, I think my voice is fading. I think I'm probably going to cut out a couple minutes early and get this guy ready. But I think the 3.0 release is just about ready to go out the door. It just needs some documentation written up and a little bit of testing to go on it. So with that said, thank you, Megan, for jumping in. And I will see everyone again next week. Good luck on the assignment, Megan. Looks like you're well on your way. So have a good night. Talk to y'all later. Anytime.